on TuneIn.com, Bing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well with Heather Dowen, NMD. Spend time with Dr. Heather and her guests for tales of love, adventure, and how to be healthy and happy. Now, here's your host, Dr. Heather Dowen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well. This podcast is a companion podcast to the website naturopathicmd.com, where we offer wellness programs, testing, consultations with a functional medicine-based philosophy to help you enjoy your healthiest and happiest life. And so today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to have a healthier, non-toxic home. We've talked a lot about food in the past, and we've talked a lot about personal care products like makeups and things like that. But today, I wanted to concentrate a little bit more on how to clean your house and how to keep away from all of these nasty chemicals. There was a study that came out last year, I believe, that showed that women in the cleaning industry had significantly higher levels of autoimmune disease. And that's because of all of the crazy chemicals that they have been exposed to. And so we're going to talk about how to choose green cleaners. We'll revisit food and personal care products a little bit. What prompted me to do this show today, because I'm not really a person that loves to clean. I mean, there's certain things that I like, but I think that my time can be spent doing way better things. However, I recently got 2 puppies, and they're quite young, and so they're still potty training and chewing and making ridiculous messes, and so I had to revisit how to clean my house without toxifying everybody, especially them, right? So they're little, they have smaller livers, they're sensitive to things. And that's why we see so many products that are like kid and pet friendly, because we need to protect those little bodies from all of these toxins. However, we need to protect ourselves as well, because most of these toxins are dose dependent. And that means that when you get exposed to certain levels of them, you'll start to show disease processes. And unfortunately, many of our livers aren't detoxifying as well as they should, be it because of alcohol or just the asinine amount of chemicals and toxicants in the environment. But your liver is taxed. You need to support it so that you can detoxify everything appropriately. But the best thing to do is actually avoid getting a lot of these toxins in your body. So let's talk about cleaning first, because I've been doing a lot of that lately. So many chemical cleaners have solvents in them. And when I do my testing for my clients, where we look at the kinds of toxins that are non-metallic, so not heavy metals, but chemical toxicants, we see a lot of solvents that come up. And we use solvents in cleaning products because they dissolve fats. And that's an important thing to do, because a lot of stuff gets stuck in fats, and then it makes, things look dingy, or you can also have, bacterial growth, et cetera, in, places where you don't want. And we're not just talking about puppies, right? I mean, humans can really stink, right? I mean, we can use all kinds of air fresheners and air, scents and candles and fragrances on our clothes, and those are accumulating in our bodies and causing disease. So let's talk about how to do surface cleaning. A really great resource for the best products is the Environmental Working Group. Of course, I'm such a groupie for them. Their guide to healthy cleaning. Now, the cool thing about the Environmental Working Group, which is ewg.org, is you can get guides that will tell you what sort of nasty chemicals are in personal care products, sunscreens, cleaning products, food, etc. And so it's a great resource. You can actually get a couple of apps as well where you can scan a barcode and they'll give you a number as far as how toxic or non-toxic these things are. Unfortunately, with the vast amount of variety that we have in our commercial system here in the States, they don't have a lot of products. And I've gone through and I've scanned, not in the database, scanned, not in the database, scanned, not in the database. And now I'm a little bit weird, right? And so I have eclectic tastes in the things that I buy, but it's kind of a pain in the ass as well to come up and be like, well, they don't have it. That's frustrating. So this is what you do. You can actually input different chemicals from the back of the label to see how dangerous they are. We're going to go over some of the really big bad guys, but when you look on the back of the label for a lot of these cleaning products, they don't put a whole lot of information on there always, right? So they can say it's proprietary, or they'll cover up phthalates in fragrance, etc. So we want to make sure that their labeling isn't misleading us, which is a whole other can of worms. There are like 80,000 industrial chemicals that have come into our commercial products in the last 30 years, and a lot of them haven't been tested for human safety. What they'll do is they'll force feed it to animals and put it in animals' eyes and see if there's a problem, right? But we're not coming into contact with these chemicals. Like, there's warnings on the back of the labels saying, if you get this in your eyes or if you eat it, call poison control or the emergent 911. So we know that these things are toxic. The problem is most of them are able to be absorbed through the skin, and that's because they're solvents and they dissolve fats. Now your body is protecting yourself from the outside environment with a layer of fat and keratin and protein in your skin, and so things that are able to dissolve through fat that are lipophilic are able to get through the skin. If you've ever heard of things like liposomal vitamin C or liposomal glutathione, those are designed to be lipophilic or be able to like fats and go in and absorb into the body better when those things aren't absorbed through the gut as well. And we see liposomes in skincare products, et cetera, because they're designed to permeate in through the skin. So these solvents work similarly. When you have them on your skin, you can absorb them. And so we want to avoid contact with them. They're also, we've talked before about what an incredible absorptive surface the lungs are. That's why people, smoke weed and crank and cigarettes, right? Because the lung surface is very, very thin, and it's easily able to absorb and get these things into the bloodstream. So the same thing goes for chemicals that you can smell. And that's why we want to talk about different green cleaners. Now, you can clean a lot of things with acid, right? Not LSD, but acids like vinegar. And vinegar is a really big go-to for a lot of people because it also will dissolve fats and it'll clean things up and it'll disinfect fairly well. In that not a whole lot of bacteria can live through, being sprayed down with vinegar. And vinegar is a preservative that inhibits bacterial growth as well. Like you watch old cowboy movies where, douse a wound with whiskey and take the bullet out, right? And that's why, because it can kill bacteria. However, and that's alcohol, but vinegar can work similarly. Things don't want to go through acid. You don't put that on a wound because it'd probably burn away a lot worse. So nobody really likes the smell of vinegar. So if you're getting like white vinegar, which is nice to be able to clean and disinfect and dissolve a lot of this grime and filth and nastiness, your house can smell like a pickle, which most people don't like. And since we emit scents, right? And in this society, we don't necessarily want to smell what we really smell like. And there are, bits of the research community that believe that humans do have the ability to smell pheromones and hormones and even sickness and things like that. And while we don't have a big, pheromone receptor up in our nasopharynx, which is our nasal cavity, like a lot of animals do who respond to pheromones, etc., we do believe that humans have an ability to recognize these things. However, a lot of people smell, right? There's a really great study about, or we've become uncomfortable with those smells for whatever reason. And so we want to cover it up with deodorant or perfume or air fresheners and, fake scents that are supposed to mimic real scents. Like I remember a couple of years ago, I got some lavender pine sol, I think, because I wanted to do a real deep clean moving out of a house. And it was the most heinous smell I think I've ever even come into contact with, because it was just so fake. And I do have a little bit of chemical sensitivity, and I, for whatever reason. And so I do react badly to those smells where I can get headaches, and I just do not like them. Like I cannot go into the tire part of Costco or, other tire stores like that, because the smells off those rubber it will give me a headache, and it's terrible, and I really don't like it. And so those symptoms show that I have a level of toxicity in my body that I need to be careful about, because with the detoxifying, et cetera, that I've done, I'm still showing symptoms. And so I want to decrease my exposure to these things while detoxifying as much as I can out of it, so that those levels in my body don't creep up and cause something like cancer and autoimmunity. Now, so vinegar, it will work, but if you don't like the smell of vinegar, what are you going to do? Well, there's a couple of different non-toxic cleaners out there that are quite good that the Environmental Working Group recommends. And so Kiss Clean, K-I-S Clean cleaner is a nice all-surface non-toxic cleaner. And you can go on here and you can look at it yourself. And they even have things for toilet bowls, which are notoriously nasty, obviously, right? And the last thing that you want to do is put one of those blue nasty things in your toilet bowl, because that's just putting all of that crap into our water supply. And we've talked a lot about water pollution, including microplastics and heavy metals. I've shared that I have uranium and radium in my municipal water. And conventional water treatment just kills bacteria and takes out dirt, basically. It would cost way too much money for city water systems to take out all of these other things. And I'm sure you've heard rumors about there being hormones and pharmaceutical metabolites and things like that that are being found in water that when you're drinking, you're coming into contact with. One of my mentors, Dr. Bill Mitchell, who is a co-founder of Bastyr University in Seattle, used to say that we are biochemically responsible for every single molecule that we encounter, which can give you a real lot of respect for your body and how it manages things. Every single chemical that you encounter has to be dealt with by your body, whether you smell it, whether it gets on your skin, if it's in your blood, whether you eat it. And so that can be a huge undertaking, especially when our environment is just crawling with all of these nasty chemicals, most of which haven't been safety tested, and none of them have been safety tested in concert. So there was a study, I think Environmental Working Group, of course, did it a couple of years ago, 1995 maybe, where they tested umbilical cord blood in newborn babies, and they found over 200 different industrial chemicals in newborns. And that's crazy, because that means that those chemicals are not only crossing the placenta, but these children are being born with a toxic burden that is already going to be strikes against them in their health, right? Because then they're only going to be exposed to more, and their livers a lot of kids are born jaundiced because their livers aren't working perfectly yet. And so we want to avoid a lot of this stuff. So what do you look for on labels? Label reading is very powerful. So you can put some of these chemicals into the database to see how harmful they are. So if it's a 1 or a 2, you're pretty good, right? They give you a green flag. If it's like 5, it's red. I think it goes up to 7. And that is something that you don't want to be in contact with, because they've got the research studies showing that they do have human health effects. And again, the consensus now, and I mean, I love watching this in a sick, kind of egotistical way, because it's like, welcome to the party, guys. You know what? This isn't a surprise. The fact that smaller amounts of chemicals are causing more health problems and they're only exponentially feeding off of each other isn't that much of a jump in logic, as far as, my philosophy, where the further that we get away from nature, the sicker that we become. And, I am not one of those women that would have made a really good prehistoric person, because I like hot showers and I like air conditioning, and I have a really soft and fantastic bed, right? So, there's certain things that I don't want to go paleo, with, diet and then how you're living, even though I do want to have my own farm and I do want to raise my own food and I do wildcraft herbs. And I think that the closer that we get to the natural parts of what has determined our health over, the evolution of our species, we are biochemically programmed to need nature, vitamin N, right? And so that's why we're seeing research about how things like forest bathing and going out in nature and gardening and getting your hands dirty are so good for you, because that's getting back to natural processes. Now, I don't think that they did a whole lot of cleaning, Paleolithic. It's probably a lot of sweeping and just, there weren't, didn't really have vinegar to clean with. Who knows? I don't know. I wasn't there. But how do we enjoy a modern life without poisoning ourselves and causing disease? And that's why this is called the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well, right? I like my luxuries. And so how do you do it without completely shit canning your health? And that's the secret. So these are the things you want to look for on labels, because when you shop, you not only vote, which is really the only way that we vote in, the States, how we spend our money commercially, because the market will fill in for, consumers' needs as far as what they're looking for the most part. We'll get to that in a little bit. But how do you avoid the most toxic chemicals that we have in our commercial products? So SLS, or sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium laureth sulfate, is a foaming agent that we see in laundry soaps and detergents, and it has been tied to neurotoxicity, autoimmunity, cancer, and endocrine disruption. And you can see it, SLS, on a lot of labels. And the tricky thing about these companies is that once people catch on to things, they change the name or they change the labels so that people don't know what they're buying. It's like MSG being labeled as natural flavor, right? And so you have to be an advocate for yourself and your health and your kids and your loved ones and your pets, because no one else is going to do it. And unfortunately, that's the state that we find ourselves in. But so we've talked a lot about parabens and phthalates. And parabens are preservatives, and they're used in a lot of cosmetic products, but they're also used in, cleaning products, etc. And they've been tied to autoimmunity, neurotoxicity, same triad of evil, right? These things hurt your brain, they hurt your hormones, they can cause cancer, and they dysregulate your immune system. And so talk about, I don't know what a quadrecta is. It a quadrecta or a trifecta? It's even beyond a trifecta. And so these things are decimating our immune systems. And another part of it is a lot of these antiseptic wipes or cleaners or like the hand gels, they have pesticides in them that are seriously toxic to the body as well, antimicrobial agents and pesticides. And we have talked extensively about the microbiome and how important the microbiome is in your gut, which is the little bugs that live in your digestive system and on your skin, etc., that help with keeping you healthy. And we're getting more and more research into different areas of medicine so that we see that sorry, my phone went off. So we see that it has roles in metabolism, in obesity. This is one of my favorite facts. If you take stool or poop from an obese mouse and put it into a non-obese mouse, the non-obese mouse will become obese, which is not really mind-blowing, but it's really concerning. And so when you have pesticides in your body, it disrupts your microbiome and sets you up for immune issues, cancer issues, it's insanity. And so we don't want to keep exposing ourselves to these chemicals. So triclosan is a big one of those, and it's something that has been in Purell, etc., those sorts of hand sanitizers, which are nuts, right? You want to definitely get natural hand sanitizers. And we see now, we can even read stuff at Harvard about the hygiene movement and hypothesis. And of course, when I think it was Florence Nightingale that revolutionized the world when she said that maybe we should wash our hands between patients. That's the hygiene hypothesis. We want to keep away from antibiotics and microbes that are, the number one cause of death of humans since the beginning of time. And yet what we've seen is that all of these antimicrobial cleaners and antimicrobial hand sanitizers and all of this are disrupting our microbiome. So the best way to just make it easy on yourself, when you go to the store to buy cleaning products, find something that is SLS free, which is the sodium laureth or lauryl sulfate, paraben free, phthalate free, no synthetic fragrances. And I would throw in not tested on animals. I'm a vegan at heart. Unfortunately, I can't live a vegan lifestyle. I love animals. The only ones I kill are flies, fleas, black widows, even though I love spiders. I don't want them biting my kid or my pets. And cockroaches, right? So let's talk about how to kill those awful, disgusting things that most of us have in our house because we still live on the planet Earth. First, let's talk about RAID, right? Mosquitoes, I kill them too. So if you bite me, you're dead, basically. If you're poisonous and can kill someone, you're dead. If you like to hang out on dog poop and then try to get on my food, you're dead. Cockroaches, I don't know. I think there's something inborn in our bodies that lots of people love. I love spiders, right? I love them. I think they're fantastic. They're fascinating. And most of them I let live. But cockroaches, who do you ever look at and like, oh, you know what? My spirit animal is a cockroach, right? Anyway, you don't want to spray pesticides all over your house because that's seriously toxic. And those pesticides accumulate in your body. The way that they kill bugs is either as a neurotoxin or an endocrine disruptor, which is dose dependent. That means you might need a little bit because the bug's so much smaller than you to kill the bug or keep the bug from reproducing. However, if you spray that shit all the time, then what's going to happen is eventually you are going to have a buildup in your own body. So it's summertime in California, and we've, got bugs, and I had a few cockroaches crawl out of my pipes, which is always a joy. And so instead of going and getting Raid or some other crazy, because, I don't like them, they're disgusting. I got sticky traps instead. And so when they crawl in the sticky trap, they stick and they die, and it's chemical free. I don't have to worry about spraying. So that's how I get the cockroaches. I've looked into a lot of things about the black widows. My last name means widowmaker. If I were a man, that's what it would mean. Unfortunately, the Ukrainians have a derivation between women and men, and so mine means widow, right? And so I have an affinity with black widows. I think they're awesome. They're beautiful animals, but they're toxic. And so I don't want to spray them with chemicals. And what I found is that you can actually take dish detergent, put it in a spray bottle, and spray them, and it causes them to suffocate. So I bought a bunch of, detergent, put it in a spray bottle, and I spray them when I see them. And unfortunately, it's not the best way to go, but if I can't squash them because I'm in, bare feet, then that's the way that I go. Having new puppies, I obviously have to deal with fleas. Now, my old dog, I give him Comfortis, which is an oral anti-flea medication, which I feel really guilty about because it's so freaking toxic, and he hates it. He can smell it. It's disgusting, but the fleas die in like a half hour and they fall off of him once they bite him, right? So you think about how toxic that is for my poor dog. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to find like a flea collar or like a natural thing that really gets rid of this, barbaric, super duper strain of fleas that we have in my neighborhood. I think it's all the stray cats, but anyway, that's my confession. See, I do use nasty stuff every now and then when there's no other choice. But with the puppies, obviously I can't give them Comfortis. And so there are essential oils that are really good for repelling fleas. And I gave them bath in lavender, Dr. Bronner's. It's great. So lavender, peppermint, citronella, cedar, rosemary, and lavender, I think I said that, are all good to repel fleas. And so I gave them a bath in lavender and peppermint, Dr. Bronner's, which is a great, super clean soap. And then I put a little bit of essential oil of cedar and rosemary in their fur. And so hopefully that repels the fleas while we kill them on the big dog, because flea collars are nasty. I don't want my young, I don't want my young son to go touching flea collars and absorbing that pesticide through his skin. And so that's how I dealt with the fleas. And so we're going to get back a little bit in a minute about specific things for like dishes, etc. after this break.
Remember the last time you felt healthy and energetic? What would you do if you could regain your health and feel good again? Enjoy spending time with your family? Take a trip. Get back to being active and doing the things that you love. Naturopathic MD can help because we practice natural, functional, logical medicine. Have you ever cut yourself and taken a prescription to stop the bleeding, but the cut stayed open? No, because your body can heal itself. Cuts are usually easy to heal. But chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and digestive problems need the expert support we can provide. Are you ready to take action and get your life back? Sign up for one of our elite concierge programs today.
All right, welcome back. I forgot to mention what I was going to do for the flies, right? Because you can get fly repellent that's toxic as well. But what I did is I got traps that are disposable, and so you can, and they stink, right? So they smell like something a fly would love. And they can go in the top and then they can't get back out. And then you just throw them out, bye-bye flies. They can hold like 20,000. And since you don't have a whole lot of control over what your neighbors are doing in the suburbs, sometimes you can get a lot of flies or mosquitoes. And as far as mosquitoes go, there is, I think it's the Beaver Company. I know it has a beaver on the logo, but they have a citronella-based bug spray that you can use, and then citronella candles as well for the mosquitoes. My mother always said that the mosquitoes could detect B vitamin deficiencies. And so if you take your B vitamins, then the bugs aren't quite so likely to bite you. And it has been shown that some people get bitten a lot more than others. And I happen to be someone that gets bitten a lot, but yeah. So that's a good way to deal with mosquitoes. Obviously you don't want to use things like DEET. Even when I'm out, deep woods, I don't use DEET because it's so toxic and it's absorbed through the skin. And that's, I don't need an endocrine disruptor causing cancer for me. There's enough trouble going on. I'll take a few bites or go on a murderous rampage of mosquito swatting. Okay, so we talked about surface cleaning. Bathroom cleaning is a whole other animal, right? Because there's a lot of bacteria and things in there, but you can find cleaners that use natural ingredients or enzymes. Rug cleaning is important too, because I think rugs are disgusting in a lot of ways because they just trap everything and they can be there for years. And so when you do clean them, I have a steam cleaner and I use, and they always say, right, like do not use, anything but the recommended steam clean, solution in your steam cleaner. It's like those steam cleaning solutions are full of solvents and fragrances, and they're, I don't want puppy or dog paws on that, absorbing through their pads and getting all that nastiness. Plus what we can smell. And so I will often use vinegar and essential oils with them, or you can get enzymatic cleaners. And enzymatic cleaners are awesome because enzymes break down proteins, and proteins are what bacteria like to eat. And they can always use natural detergents as well to clean out soil out of carpets. And that can help with decreasing allergies, etc., when you have cleanliness. So you want to have a fine line, right? You don't want to have too much cleanliness where you're in a sterile environment, which can lead to allergies and autoimmunity. And we see what's happening with, kids that don't get to go outside. And they've shown that kids are less likely to have allergies if they have pets, because pets are filthy, disgusting animals in a lot of ways, right? As much as they are family members and we love them to pieces. But they do introduce a whole level of filth into an environment beyond just the human, filth. Which I want to get back to because I didn't talk about that as much as I wanted to. There was a study that was done a couple of years ago that showed that women could recognize the major histocompatibility complex in men that would complement them most, which is an immune protein in the body. And so women can smell, the men that smell really good to women are the ones that will produce offspring that have a more varied immune system that will have a better chance of survival. Isn't that cool? Like, you can actually smell that. Obviously, it's, almost in a subconscious way. Birth control pills turn that into the opposite. And so you're actually choosing someone that'll make weaker offspring, which is wild to me. And our sense of smell is something that we don't necessarily pay a whole lot of attention to. It's the sense that will acclimate the fastest. And so if you smell something bad when you first get into touch with it, then, in about 2 to 5 minutes, you won't necessarily smell it as much because the sensors acclimate well. But it's also the only sense that bypasses the thalamus, which is like a relay station. And so you're getting straight nerve impulses into like the hippocampal temporal area of the brain, which is where a lot of our memories are evoked. And so that's why if you smell someone's perfume that you used to love, you can go right back to that memory. Or cookies can remind you of grandma, or other scents can also be aphrodisiacs, but that's a whole other story. So that's interesting. We don't want to ruin our scent receptors with disgusting toxins that are going to have effects on the body that we don't even really know the full repercussions of yet. So I've been doing a lot of cleaning of metals. So I've got a lot of copper and silver in my kitchen. And I've been doing, I guess, my spring cleaning, right? It's spring. Hey, we've talked a lot about, living in the seasons. And so I've been doing my spring cleaning. It's the time of getting ready, like getting rid of the old and getting, ready for the new. And so I have a lot of copper because I love copper. I think it's such a beautiful metal, but it corrodes so easily and so quickly. And I didn't want to get copper polish because they're toxic, right? Copper polish, silver polish, they're, taking off tarnish and exposing yourself to chemicals. It's not something that I really want to do, but I want them to sparkle. And so what I found is that, this is cool. If you take like a pie plate, glass pie plate, and line it with aluminum foil. I don't use a whole lot of aluminum foil because aluminum foil has aluminum in it, as well as other like non-stick chemicals. And aluminum has been tied to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and neurological. It's a neurotoxin. So why would you put it on your food? And then the non-stick chemical aspects of it add a whole other range of depravity, and I'll keep my language clean. So I don't use it very often, but every now and then I use it for like just covering or whatever. Anyway, there's a time and a place. If you line that pie plate with aluminum foil and then fill it up with hot water and dissolve a bunch of baking soda in it, and then put your silver in it to soak, you can then wipe off the tarnish. It's amazing. It's so cool to see. And, it's the wonders of chemistry, right? It's really, really neat. Now, copper is a little bit easier because so vinegar and baking soda, right? We remember when we were kids and you could mix like vinegar and baking soda and make a volcano, right? Vinegar and baking soda are the cornerstones of how to clean just about anything. You can put it in laundry. You can, clean copper. You can take copper and just use baking soda even dry and rub it on the tarnish and it will come off. And if you need to boost it a little bit, throw in some acid, which is the vinegar, and then rub that on and it'll take off another layer and it'll add to the chemical reactions to remove the tarnish. So you can use baking soda as a deodorizer. You can use it to clean rugs and in the kitchen, and it's amazing, and it's so easy, and they're both so cheap, right? And so they're a good fundamental thing to have around the house, and they can do amazing work. I use stainless steel and copper cookware almost. I have some cast iron as well and some glass, but as far as sauteing and things, and sometimes you can get a little bit of burn on the bottom of a stainless steel pan because it's not no stick surface. Baking soda, put that on there and rub it with a exfoliate sponge, comes right off. It's wild. I don't know the chemistry of how it works, but it does, and it's awesome. And so if you need like carpet deodorizing, which you can get nasty chemicals to put on a carpet and vacuum up, and they're all full of fake smells that are supposed to cover up the natural smells of life. And so if you use baking soda, it actually works just as well as a deodorizer. And then you can use some essential oil or enzyme-based things to help with freshening it up. I guess I should probably touch on now, like, why humans stink, maybe. We're not supposed to. And in my practice, I ask clients not to wear perfume when they come in, and I don't wear it anymore. I wear only essential oils when I decide, just because I talked about my trip to Egypt and how I flipped my lid over their natural essential oil, perfume copycats. So I'll wear those, but I don't wear perfume anymore. And especially in the office, because you can smell a lot of things from clients. You can smell whether they have good oral health. You can smell whether they're detoxifying. When we did our first detoxification as a class in medical school, remember I went to naturopathic medical school, which we did things like that. People would walk in the room for our class and they would be like, whew, like they could smell the toxicity coming out. And remember, if you have body odor or body smells, that usually means that there's something wrong. There's something out of balance. You're, acidic, or you're infected. I can smell sinus infections on people, and I can smell if their body's running acidic, and you can definitely smell different illnesses on people, or even what they're exposed to in their homes, or how much perfume they're wearing. And so it tells me a lot of information. And if you're having like really bad smells, like bowels are another big thing, right? Obviously, everybody's shit stinks, but some stinks worse than others. And not that I go around smelling that. I have had pictures forward to me from patients, but that's a whole other story. Look at this, it's the best I've ever had. So that, I digress. But with the sense of smell, we can determine a lot of things. And in our culture, what we're doing is we're covering up that fundamental animal sense that we have, that we can use to our benefit if we use it. It's not as strong as a dog's, right? But if you pay attention, you can smell a lot of things, but we're covering that up. And we're doing it in such an unnatural way that it's leading to illness. So that's my hippie consumer advocacy stance today. But we've talked a lot about antiperspirants versus deodorants, and like the bacteria that create body odor smells. And remember, that bacteria is part of your microbiome. And so if your microbiome is balanced and you're not eating a bunch of processed packaged shit that makes you sick, then you're not going to have those same smells, and you're going to be healthier because of it. And it's just another one of those tools. My youngest brother recently had a significant health scare, and he and I are very similar, because I think that we need to have a lot of drama to kick us free and send us messages as far as our lives need to change trajectory. I don't know what it is, hard-headed Ukrainian genes, I guess. But when I went to go visit him, he had Febreze that he was using, and I couldn't believe it. And he's like, well, you told me not to dry clean my clothes. I'm like, yes, don't dry clean your clothes. Dry cleaning is so incredibly toxic unless you're going to a green cleaner or an ozone-based dry cleaning process, because dry cleaning chemicals are nasty. And if you do dry clean, you should hang your clothes out for like 36 hours before you even bring them in the house to detoxify, because even though you can't smell it, it's off-gassing and you're absorbing it. And I'm finding it in my urine non-toxic metals panels that I run on people. And so if you're worried about autoimmunity or cancer, or if you want to make sure that you are doing everything that you can to stay healthy, then I would recommend getting one of those done, because we can tell a lot about your health and your exposures and what you need to do to change those exposures around. And you can find that test. It's a non-metallic toxin test at naturopathicmd.com. You can contact us and we can send it out to you wherever you are. That's a good one because it's easy to do internationally as well, because there are companies that offer it internationally, but also because, you know, it doesn't have to be overnighted or anything in order to get to the lab with the sample intact. Now, dry cleaning, right? So he was using Febreze instead to deodorize his clothes. And that's another, just Febreze, Swiffers, air fresheners, you know, plugins that you can put to change the way that a room smells. If you don't like the way a room smells, and that's fair, you know what? Like, that's fair. Use essential oils and try to get organic ones, because a lot of times the cheap ones are actually extracted using volatile solvents again. And just like a lot of the weed vapes and the marijuana vapes, if you're not getting organic, you're actually likely to get a lot of toxicity, because they're using crazy solvents that are cheap to get those cannabinoids out of the marijuana leaf. And so then you're inhaling them through a vape and your lung is absorbing them. And so I've had some tests come back on my clients and they're like, I don't really know where I'm getting those solvents. Oh yeah. So if you're gonna smoke, vapes probably aren't the way to go unless you get a good organic one. I prefer the bong myself with a little bit of the pipe potions in it. But that's besides the point. It's, you know, it is the bad girl's guide to living well. Now, how do you clean your clothes? I've been really frustrated a number of times, because when you get the non-scent fabric detergents, well, let me back up. When I taught pathology and pharmacology, when we did the skin section, whenever there's something called atopic dermatitis, and it is a reaction to something that has touched your skin that has caused an allergy. And even in conventional medicine, the first thing that is asked is, have you switched like laundry detergents or fabric softeners? Because those things are toxic and they can cause reactions in the skin. And so free and clear or natural detergents are hugely beneficial. But then with the free and clear, you wash your clothes, especially with the high energy or high efficiency machines now, like you pull them out and it's like, well, we're so used to things smelling good or fresh, right? That if you don't have that scent, a lot of times it really doesn't feel like it's clean. And so I use an Ecos Magnolia citrus from Costco that I like. And that has a really nice scent to it, so that the clothes are washed and they get a scent, but it's a natural fragrance. Now, I will say there's a caveat. These companies change their formulas all the time. And so something that you think used to be good because you read the label last year, it can change. So keep reading labels and keep updating yourself about it. But I like that one. And then I've talked about using the wool dryer balls. And so they're about this big, they're the size of a baseball. I put essential oils, just a couple drops, because you don't want oil marks on your clothes, but they help, they're completely reusable, and they help scent the clothes so they smell nicely. They separate them, they take away the static, and they separate them so that the drying times are lower. So they're actually energy efficient as well. You can order them on Amazon. Some of them are, organic New Zealand free range sheep wool, which is always nice, because it's always nice to support those farmers that do the right thing. And sometimes they can get kind of old, as far as they don't take the static out as well. And so you just wash them in the washing machine, put them back in the dryer, and they're recharged. Because dryer sheets and fabric softeners, again, they're full of these chemicals that are causing outrageous amounts of problems in our bodies that we don't even really know the full extent of. I don't know if you remember, I've talked before about how women in the cleaning industry are much more likely to have autoimmune diseases. And also women, period, are much more likely to have autoimmune diseases. And I think it's because, well, often, historically, we do the majority of the cleaning, and we wear all kinds of personal care products that have these terrible toxins in them. I did a whole podcast on skincare and personal care products, and how to choose them to be, effective, right? We want them to be effective, but we also don't want to poison ourselves. And so you can listen to that if you're interested in getting resources as far as what I personally use, so that I'm not, so I'm aging gracefully, but I'm not poisoning my inside, because I want to be, beautiful inside translates to beautiful outside. And, beauty is skin deep in a way, right? But, and ugly goes all the way to the bone. I just think that those things are funny. But beauty is more than skin deep, because you have to be healthy all the way to the bone in order to really be beautiful. You can cake yourself with makeup, and you can cover yourself in perfume, and you can, do antiperspirants and plastic surgery and Spanx and, padded butt underwear and corsets and push-up bras and all of that. And it's just all fake. It's all fake. And we want to have, I want to have authenticity, and I want to be, beautiful to the bone. And I want to, be loved and desired for who and what I am, not for what construct I'm showing to the world. And so authenticity is very important, and health is authentic. You can't fake it. You can't fake health. If you're, you just can't do it. And so these things will help you lay the foundations to be healthy. And, you always have to appeal to someone's vanity, I think, in our culture, in our society, and the practice. It's like people won't pay $50 for a nutritional consult about how to eat so that they fuel their body well, but they'll pay $5,000 to get a facelift, right? So let's talk about authenticity and, really making big changes. And these are things that you can do, because sick is not sexy. And so, decreasing your likelihood of becoming sick seems to be logically a smart way to go. One of my other things that I really like for laundry is borax. And borax is old school, right? And it works kind of like a fabric softener. And you can buy it on Amazon. I use borax and baking soda because, I have a lot of pets, and I've got a filthy little child that I have to clean up after. And using those two naturally occurring substances really improves the outcome of the laundry as far as scent goes, and how the clothes feel. And I want to do a throwback now. We just have a few minutes left. My last podcast was about microplastics and its role in health. Now, whenever you wash synthetic fabrics, you're putting microplastics into the environment. And so change out your wardrobe, right? Choose natural fibers. And this has been Dr. Heather Dowen with the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well. You can follow us at Naturopathic MD on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And I will see you next week, Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific. Live well.